And apparently we're not close to a final resolution on the future of Porter Moser with the Oklahoma men's basketball team. Let's discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, go check out the Locked On College Football Podcast with Spencer McLaughlin. There's a lot of great discussions happening over there between the SEC and Big 12 and with college football playoff expansion happening. He's got some thoughts that might align with some of your thoughts as well on expansion. But Porter Moser, man, he's been a dude that's been under fire all season long. It looked like after a 13-0 start that he had this thing well on its way to making the NCAA tournament. Well, some losses here in the last couple of weeks, including a long losing streak, bumped them out of the tournament, but maybe got back on the right side of the bubble against Mississippi State. Jeff Borzello of ESPN had this to say about Porter Moser. Porter Moser appears primed to get another season in Norman. I'm just going to let that sink in for a second. Especially after the Sooners picked up a massive win against Mississippi State over the weekend to boost their NCAA tournament hopes. The Sooners started 13-0, though they struggled recently. Oklahoma has yet to make an NCAA tournament appearance under Moser, though it's also a program perceived to have one of the lowest NIL budgets in the SEC. Moser would reportedly be owed just shy of $8 million.
I mean, it's what Brent Venables makes. It's about $8 million. So one season salary of BV to send Porter out of there. So, yeah, you let that sink in, John. It still is pretty painful. Are we really going to do this? After his fourth year, he finally makes a tournament. We're going to go ahead and say, nah, we're good. We're going to go ahead and let you stick around for another year. I really hope not, because it's not a – I'm not anti-Porter. My problem has been literally as soon as we get into conference play, things just fall apart. And it doesn't feel like there's any creativity with his offenses. It feels like if he's not going to out there getting a bunch of one and dones like Fears on a regular basis, it's going to be really tough to be competitive in the NCAA. You can't, if you're going to have a team of players that's supposed to play like a team, then they need to actually look like they're playing like a team. And it doesn't feel like that in most cases, especially in conference play. Now, this is the thing that still surprises me, John. I'm still trying to understand this. This is what I can't fathom it. It's a thing I can't grasp. This is the first year of Oklahoma playing basketball in the SEC. Why doesn't this feel like non-conference games the entire season? Like, they don't know who you are. This should feel like your non-con schedule. Why is it that every time you get into conference play, things fall apart? We saw it all the last 3 years in the Big 12, and you would have thought that the SEC would at least give you 1 year grace of, it just feels more like, non-con, nobody knows. No. It's just like he just forgets how to coach. I don't get it. That's what I need to answer for. Somebody can answer that for me. I think I'll be okay.
Well, I mean, just the SEC talent is that much better than what Oklahoma has.
Fair. Big 12 was really good, too.
It was, and that's why Oklahoma struggled in the Big 12. I mean, for 4 years now, basically, we're just a few games from the end of the regular season. For 4 years, we've seen the same story out of Porter Moser. We've seen teams that struggle to close out games, teams that struggle late games. I mean, how many shot clock violations or near shot clock violations have we seen from this team this year? And unless Jeremiah Fears is just going off and looking like a lottery pick, Oklahoma struggles. When Jeremiah Fears struggles, Oklahoma struggles even worse. So it's to me, I think if he were to get them into the tournament and they go on a Sweet 16 type of run, then maybe. At the same time, what's your turnover going to look like again this offseason? Because if you go on a Sweet 16 type run, Jeremiah Fears is off to the NBA. Like, he's not coming back for another year. Because if you went on a Sweet 16 type run, Jeremiah Fears played really, really well and had all of the national eyeballs on him, and he's going to be a lottery pick.
Yep.
I'm not ready to make – I mean, I still feel like moving on is probably the best way forward. At the same time, $8 million is a lot of money. And if you have to pay that buyout, now it's prorated monthly, according to George Stoya. So it'd be paid out. You're not paying out $8 million in one lump sum. That money could be better spent with rev sharing and NIL. So there's that. But
Yeah,
if you improve your NIL budget for basketball, how much of a difference will that make with Porter Moser at the helm? Does it make a difference?
Question.
I don't know how much of a difference it would make, because again, to me, that there seems to be enough talent to be more competitive. A lot of it just seems schematic, and like, again, Porter Moser seems like a great dude. At the same time, he's kind of frenetic on the sideline, and teams match your coach's energy. When a coach is calm and chill and relaxed, your team plays like that. When your coach is kind of just restless and antsy and, I feel like just constantly doing something, I think your team matches that energy too. Like, he just looks restless, and maybe it's because his seat is hot and the pressure's on and all that. But I just don't know. I still feel like unless they go on a deep run, they're going to have to make a tough decision, and they're going to have to look somewhere else, because so far through almost 4 seasons, he hasn't proven capable of elevating this team
At all. I guess the question now is, John, do you think that they can make the tournament? There's 4 games left in the year.
They gotta win at least one more. Like, you got to win one of these games against Ole Miss or Kentucky, or you got to beat Texas on the road. Like, win a ranked game. If you win a game over a top 25 team, I think you're in. If you play those games close-ish, and then you beat Texas on the road, I think you could still be in, potentially. It's going to be close, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Your best chance is going to be when you face Kentucky at home on Wednesday night,
or Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri. Yeah, you get Missouri at home. That's going to be a good chance too. But again, you're going to need your team playing like they did against Mississippi State. You're going to need Sam Godwin to go do what Sam Godwin did and be very, very efficient. You're going to have Jeremiah Fears play the way Jeremiah Fears did. I think Jalen Moore, he can have a better shooting night, and that can help you. But you got to get more efficiency out of Sam Godwin. You got to have him involved. Like, having him not involved in the offense was part of the issue. But keeping him involved, making sure that you have a low post threat or at least an inside presence, that does benefit everybody else. So I don't know, man. I think they've got to win at least one ranked game to really solidify themselves as a tournament team. That gets them to 18 wins, and that would put them at 5 SEC wins. That's not great by any stretch of the imagination, but like 18 wins in the ACC back in the day, that gets you into the tournament. If you go, 5 and 13 in the ACC, or I don't know how many conference games they used to have back in the day, but if you had that record or that winning percentage in the ACC back in the day, that would have gotten you into the tournament.
No, that's true. And I think the fascinating thing too is if they make the tournament with 18 wins after missing the tournament last year with 20 wins and 8 conference wins in the Big 12, I'm going to laugh.
Yeah.
I'm going to laugh at that because it's kind of hilarious that it kind of came around that way, while at the same time still don't get why you would put them in the tournament. Now, I know they're in the last 4 in, so they're on the bubble. You got to, like I said, you got to win at least one more ranked game to get yourself in there. But that many losses in conference just does not feel like a team that should be in there. Now, like you said, if they go in there and they win, they'll probably go into the play-in. If they win that and win like a first-round game, there's a chance that Porter's going to end up coming back. So Coach Moser will be back at Oklahoma, and man, we may riot. I think that's probably what's going to happen, John. People are going to fight. Somebody's going to get hurt if he ends up back because of that.
Yeah, you look at them so they have more quad 1 wins than teams like Indiana, Rutgers, Arkansas, Texas, Louisville. They're 5-8 against quad 1 teams. What might hurt them is their quad 1 or their quad 2 and 3 records where they have a loss. And that might be what keeps them out. But your wins over Michigan from non-conference, that's going to matter. Your win over Arizona, your win against Providence, those things are going to play a factor. Even if you did struggle in SEC play, you struggled, but yes, you've got a win over a top 25 Mississippi State team. You beat Vanderbilt when they were a top 25 team. So you do have some wins to your ledger that are like, okay. And I mean, we see how good the SEC is. Georgia just beat Florida. Okay. You lost to Georgia. Yes, but they just beat Florida. So,
good point.
I mean, dude, anything's possible, and you get into the tournament and then anything's possible. And I mean, you're a battle tested team that's gone up against the best of the best in the SEC, and who knows what could happen. I think
still crazy.
It's still crazy.
It's still crazy. The SEC is going to have potentially 3, if not 4, 1 seeds. That's still just ridiculous.
I don't think the tournament committee would give them all 4 just out of respect for the rest of the country. Like, even if they are the top 4 teams in the country in like the coaches poll or the AP, I just don't think that they do it. I think that they'll reserve at least 1 for Houston, or 1 for a Pac or a Big Ten school or something like that. It just seems like it'd be really shocking if they were to give all 4 to the SEC. The SEC bias would be for real. Now it has translated to basketball. It used to be football and baseball only. Now it's going to be, or even softball, because softball had all 13 teams in the NCAA tournament last year. The SEC bias will be for real. But hey, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his show on YouTube at Unfair Sports as well. You can follow me at John 9 Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media profiles, platforms, and what have you. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner.
Yeah, after all that, we're still talking about maybe Porter
Fire that man.
Back.
Fire that man.
My goodness.